Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 3.
Episode 3, we're committed now, there's no backing out. So jumping straight into today, Steph and I are diving into something very personal to us both. But we felt how better to bring you along on the journey than to explore what ADHD, autism and dyslexia actually look like in our everyday lives. Not the textbook stuff, but the messy, funny, chaotic reality of neurodiversity.
Yes, and the confusing bits and the brilliant bits and the bits where, you walk into a room and completely forget why you're in there, which is what I do most of my life.
We'll talk about what it means at work, at home and as parents to neurodivergent kids too. Welcome to our brains.
But first, a disclaimer, as somebody with ADHD,
we'll jump around.
We might start at a section, we'll leave it, we'll come back to it, connect it to something random, and then eventually we'll land the plane with it.
We just ask that you trust the process.
Yes, because it is going to be a process that moves around a lot. So, let's get started.
So, Steph, you identify as an ADHD person. So, what does ADHD feel like for you?
Gosh, where to start with that one? Honestly, it is such a confusing feeling. I feel excited and anxious, confused and tired all at the same time. I can have the highest highs when I'm achieving something. Even the smallest thing gives me that dopamine fix that I absolutely love. I'm regularly compulsively buying things as I just like that little boost. Last year, as you well know, I spent a lot of the year booking the cheapest holidays that I possibly could, and now I am absolutely paying for them. But the memories are worth it because what's not to like about parenting your miserable kids in another country. I get compulsive about other things and I like to achieve everything. So I like to get the best scores. I like to make sure everything is kind of as perfect as possible. But I do lose interest very quickly, so I'll move from one thing to another all the time. So my latest challenge is Duolingo. I'm absolutely loving that. I've been learning Finnish, Hungarian, chess, and at the minute I've gone back onto Spanish. And I think I'm on something like a 140-day streak, and it's funny because I'm also doing with this with my middle child who's ADHD, so we kind of nudge each other into it. So it is a bit of a competition, but yeah, this has a lot to do with the dopamine fix that ADHD brains need, and I think that's something that we'll go into a lot more, isn't it, on future episodes.
Absolutely.
But there is some negatives, so like the laws are really low. They do kick in when I feel I've done something wrong. I regularly feel like people don't like me and overthink it. I'm a huge oversharer, and I walk away sometimes thinking, oh my God, why have I said that now? People know things they really shouldn't know. I get overstimulated, which I think a lot of people are going to relate to with this one. It's taken me a long time to be able to vocalise it to my family and to understand that, they're also neurospicy selves, and we do all kind of wind each other up, get to that point where we're overstimulated, and before I'd let it build and then have a bit of an emotional breakdown. But now I kind of confidently know when I'm feeling overwhelmed, and I can say to them, can you give me that 5 minutes to myself just to calm down a little bit, or maybe, turn the TV down because we don't need it that loud, while the Alexa's also blaring some kind of Miss Rachel and also pulling out every dressing up costume they possibly own.
So when did you start to recognise ADHD traits in yourself? What was that kind of trigger?
Honestly, I didn't even really think about it or think I was ADHD until my middle son got his diagnosis, which was a while ago. We went obviously through all the initial forms, we went through all the appointments, and I felt like everything was just related to me. It was all me, everything I saw and read, and I felt like something clicked, as I've always been seen as that annoying, hyper, chatty child that didn't really fit in. And I finally felt like, oh my goodness, this kind of gives me an explanation around it all, why I am like I am. And then obviously the more research we did, we found out that it pretty much fits my whole family. Although some of them are not going to admit it, but you've met my family, we are that lovely spicy family. And I think it is a hereditary thing, isn't it? It's not something you've done wrong or something in pregnancy or anything else. It is hereditary and it comes down. But I was going to say, how about you? When did you first realise?
So it's really funny that you said about your son's report, because that was exactly the same with me. It was getting my son's autism assessment report. And I was reading through that and I did exactly the same and kind of went, this is me. All of those struggles that I'd kind of had, struggles with socialising whilst I was at school, that real need for structure, sensory issues with clothes and things like that. The itchiness of certain clothing and things, just can't cope with it. And all of that really struck a chord. Then I think at different times I'd felt quite isolated and not really feeling like I belonged, and not really fitting in. So reading that report, everything just started to click into place. And then the more I started doing research and reading, it just opened my eyes to a whole new world. I suddenly realised, because I sleep like with my hands like really curled up, so I suddenly realised the old dinosaur hands whilst I was sleeping, that wasn't a me thing. It's an autistic trait.
Oh, really? Because you know what? I didn't realise this, and obviously we talked about it, and now I realise this is something I do. We call it the quaver. So I turn them in like a quaver, and honestly, I thought it was just me, and you wake up the next day, don't you, with these really painful arms?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going to say, now I'm doing a bit more research into things, and obviously hearing what other people are saying, I wonder if I have some autistic traits too, because a lot of it crosses over the boundaries, doesn't it? But I don't obviously want to label myself, because now I understand neurodiversity more. I feel like this is just me, it's the way I am, this is what you get. I embrace the good, the bad, the ugly, and obviously I'm guessing you feel very much the same way.
Completely. For me, the autistic traits that I started to realise, that wasn't so much a thing. It was really eye-opening. I think what I really struggled with more was the dyslexia. So again, I found out about this after I'd got one of our children's diagnosis for dyslexia. But shockingly, what came as no surprise to my parents was that, well, they already knew about it. Apparently, I was tested as a child, but they decided, decided not to get a report because they were worried about what that would do for work and things like that. But they clearly forgot to tell me in the meantime. That was a big shock for me.
Yeah, so it's interesting with dyslexia, as it can actually be a secondary diagnosis to other neurodiversities, can't it? So in fact, often the ADHD or the autistic traits might mask the dyslexia.
Yeah, exactly. So dyslexia for me can mean that I'm slower at reading. It might mean that I miss words when I'm writing or reading. However, I am amazing at skim reading documents really quickly. However, phonics, not a chance. I just can't get it at all. I don't get it. And when I'm talking and when people are talking to me, I visualise the word and that's how I spell it out. Teaching the kids to read when they were in reception and in primary school, what a nightmare. But I've always found ways around things, which is why I think for me I'd not really clicked that there was an issue before, but having that realisation meant that I could accept that there were areas where I'd struggle. Thinking about how your brain works then, what would you say it was your biggest flex and what a neurotypical person might find challenging?
Flex for ADHD?
Yeah.
I think for me, it's my planning. I really like to have everything planned, everything budgeted. I like things to be fun and precise and know exactly what I'm doing. And obviously I get that huge dopamine buzz out of finding the cheapest holidays. And obviously we did 5 days in Lapland for the 5 of us, just under £2,000. For me, I think that is a massive achievement for someone to do. Disneyland Paris, I did 5 days as well, didn't we? Took the kids away. It was just amazing, and I'm classing that as my superpower, finding those bargain holidays. That is what I am all about.
Amazing.
So how about you?
So I'm really good in a situation where everything is going wrong, which sounds really silly, but I'm super calm under pressure, and I'm really good at problem solving out of that with a really creative solution, and I can do that really quickly. However, get me in a really calm situation, give me a list of instructions to follow, and I will have forgotten the first thing that you would have told me. And the two people kind of don't match up, if that makes sense. They just, it's like two different people. So what's something that you think that you should have found easier than you actually do?
Honestly, managing to speak and write incoherent sentences. I know that sounds really, really stupid, but I just think my brain goes too fast for the rest of me.
Yeah.
And I do it all the time. I mix up words in sentences. I'll get the right words, wrong order. Same when I'm texting, I'll put words from the second sentence in the first.
Yeah.
And it shows a lot more when I'm tired. And I know I do it, and I can hear myself say a sentence. And I think people now around me have just accepted that I do it and kind of organise my sentences for me. But yeah, I think for me, I think we can see already, don't we? I talk very fast. I need to learn to slow down, think about what I'm saying before it kind of word vomits out.
But that's hard, isn't it? That's really hard to do.
Yeah.
So I've got a story that absolutely sums up how my brain works on a good day, never mind a stressful one.
Oh, these are always my favourite. Go on.
So I was in this meeting about my daughter's dyslexia assessment. It was very serious, very grown up. I was trying my best to look like a functioning adult.
Strong start.
Yeah, absolutely. The specialist was explaining the spot she'd need. And they said something like, we need to look closely at the symbols she's struggling with. So naturally, any normal parent would hear symbols and think about letters, shapes, reading tools, all those really helpful things.
Yeah.
But not me. Oh no, my brain heard symbols and instantly served up the image of two giant shiny symbols like the ones they crash together in an orchestra.
Of course it did. Of course. I can see that, yeah.
And once they were there, that was it. I had these massive symbols in full HD being smashed together repeatedly in a very enthusiastic imaginary percussionist.
I do like that. Was he wearing one of those lovely little red band jackets?
Absolutely, with a gold trim, and he was really going for it. Clash, clash, clash. Like, meanwhile, the specialist was still talking and I'm nodding along while internally being deafened by my own mental orchestra.
To be fair, if my brain started a full musical, which it does on the regular, I would struggle to focus too and probably zone out a little bit.
That's the thing. After that, I couldn't concentrate on a single word. They're explaining something quite important about my daughter's learning needs, and I'm here thinking, why are we talking about symbols? Is this a new intervention method? Is she expected to learn percussion? Where am I meant to get symbols from?
Yeah, can you imagine that though on an EHCP? Access to loud crashing instruments as required, which all kids would probably absolutely love, wouldn't they?
Oh, absolutely. She'd love it. But honestly, I left that meeting knowing two things. My daughter needs support and I need help too, because apparently my brain can't be trusted in school meetings.
Yeah, I mean, it is a perfectly reasonable reaction. The English language is a menace. Why do symbol and symbol sound the same, and who even allowed it?
Exactly. And this is where being a visual thinker is both a blessing and a curse. If you say a word that can be pictured, my brain will picture it, whether it's helpful or not.
But I find my brain seems to do what it wants as well. Maybe not picturing people as playing the cymbals, although I have broken out into song and dance many a time, but I say the wrong word and I'll completely zone out. I'm not listening to a word you're saying, probably imagining that guy playing the cymbals in my own brain, I guess. And then obviously I've got to force myself back into that room, because you can, when somebody's talking at you, give it 5 minutes, and if I'm not involved in that, I'm gone. You need to keep me hooked, you need to keep me lured in, definitely.
Completely.
But these stories show how our brain, take us to places we don't expect, which links us to today's topic, demand avoidance. So let me paint you a picture. It is 9 in the morning. You've got a coffee, you've opened your laptop, you see an email, reminder, deadline Friday.
And suddenly your body reacts, that gut-wrenching feeling.
Yeah, you haven't even opened the document yet, but now you can't.
You reorganise your desktop, you reply to 3 low priority emails, you research something you don't need to research.
You literally do anything except the one thing that you're supposed to do. It's now sitting 30 tabs along on your screen and under several documents which you now can't remember opening, and then you feel guilty, and then the guilt becomes another demand.
If that sounds familiar, today is all for you. We really wanted to get under the skin of what demand avoidance is, so let's start by defining that properly. So the National Autistic Society describes demand avoidance as a persistent resistance to everyday demands and expectations, often linked to anxiety and the need for control. It's still under-researched, it's something that is sometimes debated, but the lived experience is really very real for many people.
And obviously, here's why it's important. Demands aren't just instructions. They can be deadlines, they can be questions, invitations, praise, expectations, even your own to-do list. God knows we all like to ignore things on there, don't we, and feel like we physically can't access it.
Absolutely. And sometimes the biggest demand is, I should be doing something better. So the PDA Society describes PDA as a profile within autism characterised by extreme need to avoid everyday demands, driven by anxiety. But some people who aren't autistic still relate to the traits, especially around autonomy.
And this phrase some prefer now is persistent drive for autonomy. And honestly, I do think that reframes everything, because suddenly it's not pathology, it's protection, what feels like internally.
So let's describe that internal experience. When a demand lands, it can feel like loss of control, being trapped, being judged, being watched. I know when I've experienced, I've almost felt trapped in my body, unable to get that off that starting block.
It's not I don't want to, it's I can't access myself. And the more pressure you apply, the more the brain's going to resist it.
So demand avoidance, or PDA, can appear for both autism and ADHD, but it might be experienced in different ways.
Yeah, with autism, as we've mentioned earlier, the features linked to anxiety, loss of control, and sensory overload.
And with ADHD, it could be due to low dopamine or overwhelm because there are just too many steps.
Yeah, and then obviously you have the autistic and the ADHD. You have the autistic side, which is telling you this demand is threatening, it's overwhelming. And then the ADHD side is saying this demand is too boring, it is too big for my brain. And some AUDHD adults describe it as, I want to do this thing, but everything in my body is saying no.
So we've got some work-based examples of demand avoidance that generally sum up, for me, my professional life. You know when you get one of those emails that it's not difficult, it just requires effort. This one was just so simple. All I needed to do was reply with a short summary and attach a document. That was it. A 3-minute task, a tiny, harmless admin job.
Yeah, but let me guess, your brain took one look at it and said, no, not today.
Yeah, absolutely, instantly. The moment I read it and read, please can you send, my nervous system, it reacted like I'd been asked to deliver a TED talk with no warning.
Yeah, classic demand avoidance there.
Exactly. And then the ridiculous inner monologue starts. I'm there convincing myself, well, I can't send it yet because I haven't made tea. Apparently the kettle had become some sort of critical productive tool.
Yeah, and I can completely understand that, because to be fair, hydration is very important.
Oh, it gets worse. While I'm making the tea, I decide that obviously I can't reply until I've sorted out the clutter on my desk. You know, the clutter that I've ignored for 3 weeks, but suddenly it's become really urgent. So instead of sending the 3-minute email, I reorganise my stationery like I'm competing in some sort of professional decluttering TV show.
But this is just the absolute peak of neurodivergent productivity, really, isn't it? This is what we do. We avoid things for as long as possible and pick up the tasks that literally should not be getting done now.
Exactly. And then I thought maybe I should just draft the email first, which would have been fine, but instead of writing the actual reply, I began rewriting my email signature.
Yeah, of course you did. We all do that.
Exactly. And then obviously, because I can't possibly attach a document until my email signature looks more professional, I spent 10 minutes choosing whether to keep my pronouns on the second line or the third, all while the original email was still sitting there untouched.
So have you since sent this email?
Oh, I did, at 4:59pm. The speed and the adrenaline of someone defusing a bomb. And the funniest part, the reply was literally, thanks Claire, that's perfect. As if I hadn't just endured an internal epic battle between me and myself.
Yeah, but this is why neurodivergent people are unstoppable. Not because we don't struggle, but because everything is a little mini quest, it's a side quest, it's difficult to do, and somehow we still always win at the end of it. Again, I'll give you a home example. I think I've used this one before. I'm about to empty the dishwasher, I've decided, I'm motivated, and then somebody will walk in and say, oh, could you empty the dishwasher? Immediately,
Worst thing.
it is a no. Now it's a demand, and I can feel my body going rigid. And the same with like ironing. I'll get my ironing board out, and nobody wants to iron regardless. So you've got to psych yourself up for that. And then someone's going, "Oh, make sure that ironing's done. I need this for tomorrow." It's not going to happen.
It's wild how fast that can happen.
Yeah, and it's not logical, but it's real. The identity impact.
Absolutely, and that's exactly where the deeper layer is. So when this keeps happening, people start building this identity around it. I'm lazy, I'm unreliable, I'm difficult. But actually, they're anxious, or they have some sort of autonomy sensitivity. That's very different.
Yeah, I can completely agree with that. It's like instantly your back comes up, but you don't know why, and you can't keep going with it. So now we've got these kind of examples, we're going to go practical. Oh, we're loving this toolkit. I'm really liking all these different things we've got going on with it.
So we're going to look at our toolkit this time.
Oh, we're loving this toolkit. I'm really liking all these different things we've got going on with it.
Exactly. So instead of assigning steps, define the outcome. And by that I mean we need whatever results. So how would you approach it? So you're working with the end in sight. So rather than being assigned those steps, the person can work it out themselves. And that starts to allow for control to be restored.
Yeah, that's a brilliant one. And obviously, you've got offering sequencing control as well. So even the small choices matter. Would you rather present first or present second? Morning or afternoon? Draft or bullet points? Giving choices reduces the threat response.
You could also look at softening the language as well. So instead of "you must" or "that's mandatory," you need to. How about try "could we" or "how does this feel? What's your take?" With language, it can either escalate or it can help someone regulate.
I think that's a great one for kind of managers to think when they're with people, isn't it? Rather, you must get this done by this deadline. Actually, could we get this done? I'd really appreciate it. Or can we do this first, then this, but this is the deadline? And that just gives people that autonomy, doesn't it? And then obviously another idea that we came up with is to reduce that hidden pressure. So pressure can hide in your tone, body language, the Slack pings, the team notifications. It can create urgency without clarity. For example, replace ASAP with "this would be helpful by Thursday if possible," because as soon as someone, like we've just said, gets that tone, that instantly puts you up as well, doesn't it? Whereas actually, if we could just get it done at this point, it'd be great. Having clear written instructions, written in a way which can help be received productively, is also a step in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So let's take a quick look at what the law says. Under UK law, neurodivergent conditions can qualify for reasonable adjustments under the Equality Act. ACAS provides guidance on documenting and implementing these adjustments.
So adjustments should be discussed collaboratively with support documented. It's important that these are reviewed regularly to make sure that they're still working. So let's move the focus on removing those barriers.
This protects both the employer and the employee, and frankly it improves performance because everybody wants the best benefits out of this, don't they? They want those positive work productivity, they want a happy workforce, you want to be happy in your own role and have that great well-being.
I have a theory. If we just rebranded demands, they'd feel loads better. So instead of mandatory compliance training, let's have legendary leadership adventure.
I mean, I absolutely love the name and that already is singing in my brain, but it's still a demand.
But it's cooler.
Yeah, my nervous system's still suspicious, but I think obviously it's because this has just been brought to me. But again, love the name.
We'll appreciate the effort. So if you recognise yourself in this, I want to say something clearly. You are not lazy. You are not manipulative. You are not dramatic.
You might just have a nervous system that reacts strongly to perceived loss of control. And once you understand that, you can design around it.
And if you're a manager listening, the goal isn't fewer expectations, it's better delivery.
Yeah, because when autonomy increases, resistance decreases. When safety increases, productivity follows.
So ask yourself this week, Where do I feel most resistant? And what would make that feel more collaborative?
And if the answer is choice, that's data. We will put our show notes up, and obviously we'll link resources from the National Autistic Society and the PDA Society so you can see those. And obviously please keep sharing your stories because they're helping to shape our episodes. And obviously we will definitely circle back to this topic because we are ADHD. And we will see you again on the next episode.
See you later.
Podcast disclaimer. The views, thoughts and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to the hosts. We are not experts, specialists or professionals, and nothing we discuss should be taken as advice. Our conversations are based around our own experiences, ideas and perspectives. They are intended for general discussion and entertainment only. If you need guidance, support or advice, whether professional, personal, medical, legal, financial or otherwise, please seek help from a qualified professional. By listening to this podcast, you understand and agree that the hosts are not responsible for any actions you choose to take based on what you hear.